Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all our 12th Monarchs out there in Monarch Nation, coming off a disappointing loss at home to North Carolina on Saturday that puts our record at 2-1. Really disheartened with the way the game started. We had such a good crowd, atmosphere. Everybody was into it. I know I was excited. Our players were excited. We just got off to such a poor start in this game, particularly on offense. We didn't have a first down in the first quarter, 3 consecutive 3-and-outs, and that really put us behind not only field position, but defensively. We were on the field much too many plays in the first quarter. We had a poor punt that cost us field position, a turnover. It just felt like everything that could go wrong at the start of this game did, and yet we were still only down 11-0 after the first quarter, even with as badly as we started. There's no doubt in my mind our kids were excited to play. They wanted to play well. And then I felt like the game really changed when we made the switch at quarterback. That gave us a new energy, and we played much better after that. Special teams-wise, we just got off to a poor start. We had a hold on a big return by Isaiah Harper that would have got us the ball at the 50-yard line. We had a 24-yard punt from Bailey Cade, who's been punting like one of the best in the nation. After the first quarter, he played much better. We played much better on special teams after that. Nick Rice, our freshman, hit a 48-yard field goal that would have been good for much farther. Defensively, the kids just tried to do too much, particularly early in this game. We try to stick with that theme of just do your 1/11th on defense. We did not, and that put us in some tough spots. Felt like we played much better. Once we got about midway through the second quarter, we started to play better football defensively. Danzel Williams was outstanding, filling in for Rob Thompson, who hurt his groin last week in practice, missed the game. Danzel stepped up, had 11 tackles, and a big theme for this week with our guys is just to do your job. Offensively, the first quarter, 11 yards. After the first quarter, we had over 300 yards. In the next three quarters, the turnovers really hurt us in the first half. Having 2 turnovers and a blocked field goal hurt our points. Stevie Williams came in. I thought he did very well, considering it was his first time playing. Young guy, true freshman, went 9 for 20, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, he had the big fumble on his first drive after a long run, which was disappointing. That was a ball security piece that we'll work on with him, but he had a couple explosive plays running the ball and throwing the ball, and I feel like gives us something to build on offensively at quarterback. We just did not have an identity the first 2.5 games. That's why I made the decision to go with him, and now we've got to rally around him, similar like our team did back in 2011 when we made the switch with freshman Taylor Heineke. This week's opponent is outstanding. They're 3-0. I have a vote in the USA Today. I voted them number 11. I think they're very close to being one of the top 10 teams in the nation. They're really good in all 3 phases. There's nothing I can see so far, going back to last year, watching all their games this year, that they don't do well. They have outstanding performers at every position. Offensively, they're averaging 41 points. Their quarterback's been outstanding. Josh Jackson is completing 65% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. They run the ball well. They do it by committee. They have a lot of good backs, a couple hundred yards a game. They're throwing for 276 a game, so very complete offense. Defensively, it's what you'd expect from a Bud Foster defense. They're physical. They're really good up front. Their linebackers are good players. They do a nice job in coverage. They're going to play a lot of man coverage, which will put us in a lot of opportunities for one-on-ones outside this week, but it's typical of what you'd expect from Bud. It's a good mix of zone, man, and a really good pressure package. They're good on special teams. They punt for 46 yards a game, and they cover it well. So for us to have an opportunity to be successful this week, we'll need to do everything at a high level. You know, we're playing a team that is outstanding, a team that last year in the ACC championship game almost beat the defending national champions. I know they got them next week as well. I think this is the best football team we've ever played, and it's probably not that close in terms of teams we played. We played some really good ones, but I think Virginia Tech is by far the best team we've ever played, and this will be a monumental task on Saturday, but one we'll be excited for, and I will gladly take questions.
Does your team, is it not that hard to, get your team to share in that?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. That's really what happened Saturday. We got punched in the mouth. There weren't enough characters to put repeatedly punched in the mouth, so I had to just put punched in the mouth. But yeah, that's what it felt like Saturday. It was really disheartening. But I reminded them last year there were early in the year there were back-to-backs where we got punched in the mouth at App State and NC State, and then we rallied and got better as a team. So the biggest thing when you have a game like that from a head coach perspective is just getting everybody back on task, because they're still young people. They hear it from their family. They hear it from their friends. What happened? Whose fault was it? That's kind of the common denominator in our society nowadays. Who do I point a finger at on this one? And the biggest thing I reminded them is everybody's got to point a finger right at themselves, starting with me. We all got to rally together and get better as a team. So, yeah, you have to own that when it happens. Unfortunately, you never want it to happen, but when it happens at home in front of that crowd, you got to own it and you got to move on, and that's what we'll do.
Bobby, what does Stevie bring to that position, the quarterback, potentially that you haven't been getting to this point this season?
Well, generally, Ed, when you first of all, I played the position coach that you never want to make a quarterback change. You never want to do that. And we were trying to develop an identity offensively with either Blake or Jordan, and was trying to get one of those two guys to take it. And it's certainly not all their fault, Ed. We haven't been blocking very well up front, certainly not to the level we did last year. And we haven't been catching the ball as well as we need to. So when I decided to make the change at the half or right before halftime, it was because we didn't have any energy. Our team had lost all their energy, and we didn't have an identity. And you go through it at times with quarterbacks where you get some highs and lows, but I just sensed from our team that they just didn't feel like they had any idea who we were. And what Stevie brings to our offense is he's clearly got the strongest arm of the quarterbacks. He's explosive. You saw that on Saturday. We called his first drive, we called a 3rd and long draw, and he ran for about 20 yards. So he's got an ability to run the ball. He can scramble. He can escape. He throws an absolutely beautiful deep ball. I mean, that 71-yard touchdown pass to Fulgham while he was getting hit. He drops the ball in there. So he's very dynamic. There's a lot of things he does well. And I like the fact, Ed, that he also, for a freshman who's 17 years old, he gives the impression to everybody in the organization that he absolutely loves football. He loves to play football. I mentioned the story the other night about getting back in July late from CUSA Media Days, and he's just leaving the facility with all the other freshmen. And he'd been out throwing the ball with them. He's the Pied Piper of the group. Everybody kind of looks at him as, boy, this guy loves football. I'll follow him. So, and that's what we need now, Ed. We need somebody offensively that they can follow. Now, I also said to everybody, I said it to them at halftime in the locker room, and I repeated it yesterday, that everybody has to play better now because we have a new quarterback. So everybody has to step up their game. All the coaches, all the players, similar to what we did back in 11. You can't just put it all on that player and say, okay, go save us. Everybody's got to improve. And I talked to Stevie this morning. I said, congratulations, you get your first college start this Saturday, and it just happens to be against the number whatever team they are in the nation. I think they're 11. I think they're picked 13. But he's excited about it. And we'll have to do a lot of things to try to help him, protect him, those type of things. But, he said to me, he's like, Coach, it's time. I feel good about it. I want to play. So he's excited.
Bobby, he committed in June before his senior season after a camp here. Was that one of their satellite camps? How did the whole recruitment of Stevie unfold?
Yeah, we had known about him for about 4 months before that. And then we got him down to one of Coach Whitcomb's quarterback camps. He came down for, and Coach Whitcomb had said to me, he said, hey, I got this quarterback, Stevie Williams, coming down. I'd like to come see him. And first thing that jumped out to me about him, David, before I even saw him throw a pass, was he was in the front of every line of Whitcomb's drills. So he made that initial impression. And then when I watched him throw, I went right over to Ronnie and said, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Let's go get this kid. And he wasn't heavily recruited. A lot of it, I truly believe, Dave, has to do with being left-handed. People are afraid of left-handed quarterbacks for whatever reason. I think a lot of coaches don't like to coach backwards. You know, everything you do, you have to coach opposite, which, you know, I don't buy into it. I think a good quarterback's a good quarterback. Plus, he was an inner city DC kid, which you got to work to go there.
Yeah.
You got to work to drive to where his high school is. But everything about him, his personality, his attitude, it just came across as, you know, this guy's got that it factor you need as a quarterback. He's got leadership ability, and all our kids Saturday, you could feel it on our sideline when I sent him into the game. All our sideline, everybody just kind of picked up. But to the recruiting part, he didn't have a lot of interest. There just weren't a lot of people looking at him, and we felt like when we got him that he was a Power 5 talent player. Just one of those kids that kind of slipped through.
Yeah. Have you coached many left-handers?
This is the second one. We had Dominique Blackman, who was with us back in 2010, who was left-handed. Another big kid, athletic, could throw the ball. I don't think it's different. I don't think it's unusual. And the way Coach Scott calls the game is you don't call it opposite. You know, you don't call it opposite of a right-hander. You just call your game. A couple of things you do out of the pocket. You got to evaluate if he can throw. You know, now when you've got a left-handed quarterback, can he throw it going to the right, which he can, so it doesn't change our call. Whitcomb doesn't coach him any different. We don't coach opposite-handed, so you just have to make it natural for them. You know, if you start trying to coach it differently, then it becomes unnatural. So I'm a left-handed quarterback fan. I'm in the left-handed QB fan club.
And you didn't have any in Maine all those years?
No, never did. There's so few of them. Dave, a lot of coaches just won't let a left-handed guy play quarterback. You know, can anybody name me one in high school? Is there a local lefty? If there is, I want his name. Anybody got him?
Cameron Kelly. Cameron Kelly.
There we go.
Yeah, with Oscar Smith, yeah. When I first came out.
Oscar Smith's pretty good. They got left-handed
They're
quarterback.
not bad.
Here we go.
They're not bad.
We're looking to be the Oscar Smith of college football. Here we go.
Warwick had a guy named Michael.
Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah.
He was fairly good. He might have changed the trajectory of Virginia Tech. I don't know. It's just me.
When you watched Stevie's high school tape, or when you watched him
Mm-hmm.
play, did Savoy jump off the screen at you too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would have loved to made that a package deal. Yeah.
Now you got to defend it.
Oh, yeah, he's special. He's special, and his career it's all right in front of him. He can do everything. He's explosive. I mean, he's the whole package. But Stevie there were a number of really good players on that team. You know, the interesting thing about Stevie, and it's all been talked about, the fact just how young he is, but what really helped him, Dave, is the fact he was 13 years old when he started playing quarterback. You know, he's varsity quarterback at a high-profile school playing against really talented kids. So he's done it for a long time. As young as he is, he's done it and he's had success. And that's another big part you can never overlook with quarterbacks is did they have success where they were coming from? You know, this kid's always been successful. I went back, studied all his drives Saturday. He was, you know, we had an opportunity he had to fumble in tight. We had to block field goal. I mean, there could have been in his 8 drives he was in there could have been 27 points when he played. And, you know, their starters were in till about 10 minutes to go in the fourth, so most of his work was against their top defense. But that's what gets me most excited when I go back and I review all his drives. There were a lot of good things happening. There were a couple of kids probably nobody heard of. Patterson catches a touchdown. Noah Ellison with a couple of big catches, a 4th down catch. So basically what happens now is when you have a quarterback like this he'll move the pocket. You know, the throw he had to Patterson deep down the field where they had the pass interference, that wasn't the primary read. So now when you play with him, you got to run your route and you have to expect the ball. You know, the ball may not just go to who the play is designed to, and this is a lot like what happened with Heineke back in 11. All of a sudden, everybody's in play in the route, and it's good in a way for all the other kids to see that now, all the young kids, like, I better run my route, because he's going to do something with the ball that maybe doesn't normally happen, and that's what's got me so excited about him. his ability to create and his ability to involve everybody. We don't have to shut down the playbook. Sometimes when you have a freshman, you got to take half the playbook and you got to close it and you got to move it out. He's a really cerebral guy at quarterback. He's just not your typical freshman.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for a great effort on Saturday, 12th Monarchs, and hopefully we'll see you up at Lane Stadium on Saturday.